Hi guys, wanted to say right off the bat, thank you for joining in, and also the last few weeks have been very successful with people interacting and how many people have been seeing us, and I know how important this is, and I'll just say it, 24 people a couple of weeks ago. There's the compressor. As you guys know, this is the studio that we have two locations, but the studio is a working studio, so anything can happen. Less happens here, though, down at our other location for all of our fans who used to watch us in Arlington. Very funny things could happen. We had a barber shop next door, one wall, which was not a firewall, it was a common wall, so you heard everything. And, sometimes there would be kids in there and they weren't liking their haircut very much, or even some old people who weren't liking their haircuts. And there was a lot of yelling. And on the other side, there's a little bit more pleasant. It's a caterer. So we would get the smells coming in and occasionally some gas, natural gas, because they had natural gas cooking. But, and then a lot happened out front. I remember, is Jimmy watching, Patrick? Not that it matters. I'm going to tell the story anyhow.
I don't know.
Down there were a lot of distractions, weren't there? That was a busy street down there. You could hear the fire engines going by, people walking by, people banging on the door, even though you got a sign saying live, question and answer going on, still banging at the door. But one time, remember that time, Jimmy, we heard a banging at the door? And I said, who could that be? And Jimmy said, it's probably one of my fans. It ended up, I love telling this story. It was a dog wagging its tail and hitting. It was a big dog, though. What type of dog was that, Patrick? A Doberman?
Great Dane.
A Great Dane. And, so it did sound like somebody knocking on the door. Jimmy thought it was his fan, his one fan. I'm just kidding, Jimmy. Actually, Jimmy has more fans than I do. I know that for a fact. He used to get letters down there and everything down there. So if you guys like Jimmy, you should send us some letters saying that especially his online class. I tell you why a good reason to like Jimmy is, other than the obvious, on the online classes you're going to learn from him. If you haven't gone online to look at those, or just take a look on our website just to see if that might be for you.
I want to mention this, but since you're talking about it already, get it out of the way. We are actually hoping to post Class 1 tonight or tomorrow. Most likely tomorrow, because we'll post it early.
That's really big news, because how many classes are with that, Patrick?
24 weeks.
Whoa!
So I think we might, I was going to break it up, but I think we'll just extend it because people can enjoy that.
Are we offering an 800 number after people watch Jimmy for 24 weeks as a withdrawal? What is the remedy for too much Jimmy, Pat?
Maybe lots of alcohol. And that vodka that Randy was talking about last week.
Vodka, right, doesn't smell.
But no, so that's going up, and maybe we'll have a little intermission over the holidays. People can catch their breath, and then we'll start up again.
You mean with the online classes?
Yeah, we'll do kind of like a 12 and 12 week type thing.
But for all those who have been missing Jimmy and the question and answers, he will be coming back shortly. Hopefully, we're going to ask him to come back, and maybe as a regular again with just the question and answers. But then you're talking about in the future we might be doing a wing chair, which people have been asking about, right, Patrick?
Yeah, and the reason why I think we're going to do this for 24, it's a special class. I don't want to rush it.
Which one? This one?
The settee.
Yeah.
I think we can extend it. This isn't a quick project for people to zip through anyway.
Right.
Either way, it's going to be elaborate, so we'll try to extend it for people to enjoy. And
for all of those,
I was just looking at it today.
Yeah.
Editing it.
Yeah.
There's a ton of stuff in that.
Yeah,
you start off with a bare frame.
Right. When you mean tons of stuff, you're saying tips because and the like, because Jimmy's asking the right questions. I think Randy had a funny comment. I'm probably it's in here. Maybe it isn't, because it might have been in an email. He said he was watching Jimmy and I talking, and I said something to Jimmy, and he said you could see the light bulb go off. Do you remember seeing that comment, Patrick?
Yeah.
The light bulb going off.
He did mention that in the comments.
Oh, okay. Funny, yeah. With Jimmy, and we'll get to that. But
that one episode is 4-way tie, 8-way tie. Then you had the foam. Then you had Bernice even comes in at the end.
Wow.
To do the cushion. So this is going to be an interesting class, and people are going to enjoy it. It's a
complete restoration, and kudos to Patrick and Michaela, because I couldn't do what they do. I mean, it takes a little bit more concentration than I'm capable of, and I don't know how to do it anyhow. But the editing, man, you should see how hard they work on the editing.
That's another reason why we can't really do it all at once. We have to. It's probably going to take us 24 weeks to get it out.
You mean you're editing as you go?
Yeah, because we
Wow.
only.
So we're not just presenting raw footage. Like the YouTube is kind of like that, isn't it, Patrick?
we try to make it nice, and there's a lot of stuff where Jimmy's working to some jazz music. So,
Didn't Jimmy say something once in a while? I have to kind of balance, Jimmy, because sometimes on the question and answers we hang loose a little bit.
Yeah, I think music is better than doing a beat button.
Right. Sometimes though, Jimmy forgets that he's the seriousness of the online class because people are paying for it, right? And I think what did he say? He got a haircut. I asked him, "How was your haircut, Jimmy?" And then he went off like.
That was in the YouTube video this week.
Oh,
I saw that in the beginning. I said I have to include that.
Which
He's the
YouTube
next
was
Billy
that?
Idol.
Which one was that?
So part 4 of the club chair, which we also.
I want to mention the club chair. And that's another thing I wanted to mention. We don't get to do a lot of A to Z's on the YouTube, but we got one with ongoing, right, Patrick? You're posting those, like you said.
Yeah.
So today I was doing one, and it dawned on me that every section of a piece of furniture has its own unique things, its own nuances. You look at 2 arms, for instance, on any chair. You say, well, those are just 2 arms. Probably just duplicate what you did on the left arm with the right arm. No, it's not like that. So I turned to the camera today, and I did 1 arm, tried to slow it down, turning the chair for the angles and everything because just to offer a little bit of something better. But it dawned on me that I'm still moving fast and I'm not explaining everything I can't possibly on a YouTube video. I've told you guys that a million times. But that said, we have heard from people who have taken the YouTube videos and become upholsterers. I mean, it's crazy, right, Pat?
No,
awesome. We never intended that to be really, we want it to be informative. We want people to learn, obviously. It's free, so anybody can get on there. And by the way, please subscribe if you're watching this. We're close to how many, Patrick?
17,000.
17,000, and I wanted to mention how many people on Facebook?
300 members to our Facebook forum.
300 members. I think that's pretty good, don't you,
The
Patrick?
Facebook forum, yeah.
I think that some of these subscriptions and getting people to sign up, and if you're watching and you haven't done either one of those, or just do one of them, please, I think are the hardest things in this whole venture, don't you?
Yeah.
We know that we haven't looked at our analyticals yet on YouTube. And Patrick, I don't know if you like when I talk about this, but I used to look at it. And I was impressed by the retention rate. It was like 4.5 minutes, which I've been told by people at YouTube that that's really good. But the views, when you compare the views that you get, and people go on there for information, we hear a lot of times about people fixing their furniture and they're thanking us, but they're not subscribing or going on the Facebook for sure. That's the harder of the two. But you wonder if you got 50% of all the views that you get on YouTube, we would have 500,000 subscribers, Patrick, at least. I think more than that.
I was thinking the other day, it's funny, we've kind of turned into more of a streaming channel rather than, some YouTube channels are all streaming.
Explain that. I don't understand what you mean.
Well, we go live so much once a week that's kind of like some people that'll focus just on streaming rather than putting out videos.
We could do that.
We could do. We could. Like you were just saying, what stopped me from getting on the computer, pressing the live button and doing. You know what I mean? You could turn into that, but I think do both.
I think the content would be terrible. It would be one thing if
I think it would be good.
Well, the angles and everything, though, and like today, for instance, we were doing something. By the way, I'm gonna do a little thing over here and show you exactly. We were doing an overhead, and Patrick had to keep reminding me, "You're not in frame," and cut. You're not in frame.
Even with the tape we have.
Even with the tape, I'm getting. You will see it's the exact same thing. We did a panel today, and I'm going to show you guys. It's a really delicate job, and a real use of the gun that it's a little dangerous, but we're going to try to do it live, and I'll do that after I get through these. We have a lot of content, and I do want to apologize if I've been slow myself in responding to, especially the Facebook. It's because I'm doing a 9-day novena, which I kind of gave up social media. I just wanted to mention that quick. If you're Catholic, you'll know what that is. I won't say anything else. But so let's get right back to the YouTube. Janine, as usual, I just want to thank a special thanks to Janine for being one of the first people who have discovered us.
I like how she has that purple heart next to her. That must mean she's top fan or something.
What does that mean?
It must be. They give you these badges that are cool.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Purple heart, Janine.
What does Jimmy have? A gold star.
Well, no, Jimmy has a guy holding his nose. I'm just kidding. Is he on there?
I don't know. I have her thing up right now.
All right. Why do I tease Jimmy? I don't know.
Well, he teases you too. So
He does. Sometimes he gets the best of me. Usually he's just like a deer in the headlights, though.
Thanks, Lucas, for saying that. I'm glad people like them.
What did Lucas say?
I really like the weekly live shows. It's like a group catching up every week, which is cool. That's why I think if you did more work on camera during these,
I'm gonna do it. You guys
people
gonna
could
be
follow along. My cool idea would be get a project that everyone would
actually,
be able
Patrick.
to follow along.
Pan down and look at this chair with the panels over here. Pan down.
You're gonna catch people up every week.
We're gonna do one of those panels, which are really difficult panels to do. A lot of people, spend a lot of time and still they make a lot of mistakes on these panels. And I'm going to show you. I'm going to try to do one of the live. So we'll do that in a minute. But let's get to Janine's. Janine, I love that she comments on the live shows. I love comments on the live shows. I don't know why.
Yeah, and I want if anybody knows how to. I don't know where the feature is where once the live show gets posted, it takes away the live chat. And I think there's a way to keep that up for people who want to watch
really?
the live chat. Yeah, because it'll show only a few comments. But if anyone knows how to do that, let me know. I think it must be an easy. I haven't really looked into it, but I'd like to keep that chat coming back after it's posted.
Yeah. So Janine says, that was a great question and answer. I really like the segment where you read out emails and reply for quotes. I'm learning so much about the business side of upholstery as well as the how-to. Thanks for the whole team for all your effort and that you put in both during these lives and behind the scenes. And I just want to mention, again, kudos to Michaela. I like that segment too, where we're talking back and forth and deciding on how to answer, on quotes and things like that. And also the spontaneity of the quote itself, both two big elements, labor and fabric amount. And you can't give a total fabric amount because people haven't picked fabric, but you can give them a good idea, and you can streamline things too. You have to weed things out. We're fortunate and blessed. I'm telling you, I'm not complaining about the volume of estimates we get, because that's what you want, you guys. If you're in business, you want to get 1,000 a day. I mean, I know it would be a lot to weed through, but you would weed through that. Getting a lot of estimates is a good thing. It means that your social media things are working out, and that's Patrick and Michaela. A lot of times they're the unsung heroes. So you see me and I'm blah, 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 and I get all the credit and everything. But behind the scenes, the social media effort just to run a business these days, it's huge. Even a small business, you guys, don't be fooled. You still need if I had to list everything, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Yelp, keeping up with those not so much a social media thing, but what else, Patrick? I mean, the texting, phone.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes. It's everything.
No more pieces of paper. You don't have to do that anymore.
I remember when I first started down in Arlington, they used to come around 10 years ago. The yellow pages were just like being phased out, and for about 2 or 3 years, they would come with the yellow pages, and it went from a phone book this thick to the next year and the next year and the next year, and it was literally down to it was easy. Just me, you wise guy. Yeah, my only listing in there was me until my son rescued me. So anybody could tear that phone book. Muscle men in the old days would say, I could tear a phone book in half, because the phone books were this thick. By the way, I could. He wouldn't believe me, but I could do it. Maybe I'll do that live one day to show him that I could do it.
You can still find
So
one.
here's the thing: never shake an upholsterer's hand. Always make sure that when you shake an upholsterer's hand, he or she, you tell them, please don't squeeze my hand.
That reminds me of that story you told me.
Oh yeah, no, I don't want to tell that story. That's another story for
Just
another
say there's
time.
another upholsterer that you had a handshaking war with.
Well,
Who
yeah,
had the better handshake.
he wasn't happy about something that happened, and he extended his hand, and I extended mine, and he started squeezing, and I started squeezing, he started squeezing, and then I started squeezing, and then I said, you're forgetting one thing. What's that? I'm an upholsterer too. It was the war of the squeezing hands.
Like in Alien vs. Predator with Schwarzenegger and that other guy. Remember that?
Anyhow, we like to have fun. Let's put that over there. Thank you, Janine. Janine again, thank you. Club chair, reupholstery A to Z. Did we have Jimmy in one of these?
You skipped. It should be Rita, should be the next question.
Oh, yeah, yes, okay. Rita, she's commenting on repairing store-bought furniture. You have that in black and white, Patrick. Sometimes
That's just part of the video, that's why I came up like that.
Oh, okay.
It's in black and white.
Thank you for this video. Even though I am a budding upholsterer, I have many of the pro tools. I love how you made this a repair available to the average person with limited tools. I have a friend who has one of these lousy chairs, and now I can help her. Question, why is the red jute better than the black? Because of the weave, and it's just a tighter weave, and probably a better jute too. Good question. Stephen, club chair reupholstery A to Z, cutting fabric. He says, cool, snip, snip, snip.
Are you talking about Jimmy's hair?
I don't know.
Snip, snip, snip.
Did Jimmy appear in one of these A to Z?
I think he was in that one.
What was he doing in one of those?
I think he cut the fabric, I think.
Oh, okay. That's good. We had him in one. We should do that more often, maybe.
Yeah. He's in two of them, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Here's Randy's. This is good. Randy's always got some.
Oh, Randy has two logos there. Look, he has the heart and he has something else too.
What is that?
I'm not
Is
sure.
that the guy with holding his nose? Or?
That's the YouTube logo, I think. It must mean top fan or something.
That's pretty good. Randy says on the also, hey, listen, Patrick, you want to talk about a successful video? So far, I see 3 on the A to Z on the club chair. 3.
I noticed the scissors are pointing towards your head in that photo.
Well, that's dangerous. Nothing like spending a day out in the shop working and coming in having a cocktail and watching somebody else work. All kidding aside, great information on getting things cut out. What someone new needs to remember is upholstery is not like dressmaking. Sometimes you can fudge things a bit. I saw the light bulb go off above Jimmy's head. Go on. I said go off, didn't I?
It happens too sometimes.
Go off. I saw the light bulb go on above Jimmy's head. That was a little bit of a slip, Jimmy. I'm sorry. I wasn't a dig. Don't worry. Is he on, Patrick?
No, he's not. He's sick of us.
I think you said something to him. Janine now says on the club chair A to Z. Good to see this next step on the club chair. As always, great tips. Thank you, Janine. See, Janine also does the online classes, so she's actually had some good comments about the difference between the two. And she's a fan of the YouTube, the Facebook, and the online classes. What more do we want, Patrick?
Oh, trifecta.
It's a trifecta. I'm glad I said that.
Well, here's a legend comment. That was
No, I think LC's kind of kidding me. She says, fixing a pop button. She says, wow, you're a legend. Thank you. And now she's got a heart there, but it's not a colored heart. What does that mean, Patrick?
Actually, it's real tight now, but by legend, you mean old? Ancient?
Oh, no, I think it's a compliment. Shit, that's good. That button repair can save $100 or $200 with people. You know that? And we devised a way of doing it without using even buying the kit on our online fixing a button. But it is easier, though, I must say. German needle's easier, but we devised a way with the little needle nose, pliers, and a washer, and the technique, the slip knot. Pretty much that's what it was. There's other little tips in there, but I thought that was good for people who don't want to go out and buy a kit just for one button, right? Buffy, is that Buffy the Vampire Slayer or Buffy? No, I'm just kidding. Quick tips fixing upholstery damaged by a pet. This explains why the cat I mostly keep watching scratching the couch has the sharpest claws ever.
The sharpener.
Yeah, and I think in that video we showed you a cat. I think they had a bobcat or a feral cat in their house because that chair was completely. Remember that, Patrick? Completely. We had a little damage on the front that we showed. Just gave you a couple of quick tips on how to do that. It wasn't, I wouldn't do it professionally, but for people at home, it does work for minimum damage. And then we turned the chair, and it looked like a bobcat got a hold of it. You guys should see that. And then the next one, How to Upholster a Biedermeier Chair Part 2. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. You're welcome. I enjoy sharing knowledge. I enjoy understanding. I enjoy not having things explained to me. Right, Patrick? Do you know what I'm talking about? He doesn't know what I'm talking about. We're big Seinfeld fans, and that was an episode of Seinfeld. George was going for a job, and the boss, he wasn't sure if he got the job, and the boss says, I don't think I have to explain everything to you. And what did George say, Patrick?
He said, what did he say? You and Jimmy. What did
George say? George says, I enjoy understanding. But anyhow, Mr. Mark, again a fixed button. We got a lot of comments on fixing a pop button. Any negative comments, Patrick?
Oh, we did have some, but
what were they?
Somebody
called me a hacker or something, not understanding why I presented it like that.
Well, it is a hack. That's what it is.
Well, it is, isn't it? Yeah, we admit it.
No, like hacking, it's a hack. It's a secret tip. It's supposed to be avoiding the hard way.
Right. How come you erase? You don't like the negative?
No, I don't erase them. I can keep everything up now.
Thank you. I was given a very nice chair from my mother, and the button came off. I assume he fixed it, but he doesn't say that.
Hopefully it worked out well for him.
Yeah. K-Mac, How to Upholster Dining Room Chair Part 2 Webbing. I am loving this series. Now, Patrick...
And I forgot how many of those there were, but...
Yeah, that was one I forgot that we did. So we've done, with the club chair now, I think we've done 3 or 4 multiple parts or series. Mm-hmm. And they contain a lot of videos. So I think that we've done a great service on YouTube, Patrick, for people.
Choose one more question to the same person.
On the next page, maybe?
Comment, yes.
Another comment on the same, on the final step, part 5. So there are 5 parts on that one, Patrick.
Yeah, that's good. Check that out if you haven't seen that. That's a good one.
Such a great series. I'm trying to learn so I can reupholster my dining room chairs. Luckily, they are simpler than this chair, although not as beautiful. It looks amazing. I love that. Imagine, if you said to me 10 years ago, I mean, a little bit longer than that now. We've been doing this for 10 years, haven't we, Patrick? Oh, brother. Randy said my hair was a little darker back then. But if you said 15 or 20 years ago that you were going to be on, there's going to be something called YouTube. It's not TV, it's separate, but it's like TV. You're going to be on TV, and you're going to be talking and explaining upholstery and showing how upholstery is done, and you're going to be doing your own show. And all this, I would have thought it was science fiction, Patrick. That, when you think about it, that was science fiction 20 years ago. It really was. Even though we had television, this is a whole different medium, isn't it, Patrick?
Yeah, I'm just glad we survived the kind of the wave of people getting kicked off of YouTube, because we have wholesome content. We don't have to worry about any of that.
How many people have been kicked off for less?
Well, they started regulating. I don't even know if we could talk about it without getting flagged.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind.
They started regulating. That goes to show you the content we have has always been wholesome. It's never been vulgar. And
that's right. But even some people really got side. What's the word I'm looking for? Sideswiped or just bulldozed. It's something completely innocent, like people
like the children's stuff.
Yeah, we Patrick and I, we were going to do. We have our idea was at one time, and we were close to realizing this, was a children's story for every day of the year to tell. I think the age group was 6 to 8 or 6 to 10, or maybe even 5 to 10, somewhere around there. And we were up to 220 really unique stories that I used to tell Patrick when he was a kid, and we were really thinking about that and moving towards that. And then all of a sudden, what did they? It's not allowed.
You can't make money off of children.
You can't make money.
Right.
I mean, the whole idea, if you're going to do something, I mean, that there is a reward. The reward is money, usually. We're not independently wealthy, you guys. That's why we will say, now that it comes up, that please visit Upholstery on Broadway, the store, and try to patronize us. And people have done that, and we want to thank Daphne. And I hope she's looking. Oh, she's got a comment in here. I can't wait to see it.
Didn't you actually met her in person, right?
Yeah, Daphne came in. We had a great talk. It's nice to see our fans live, and getting that feedback, that personal feedback. It was nice. So we'll get to Brad's, though, first, because this is kind of
these are really cool.
Sentimental thing here. Brad, he's been a long-time fan, too, right, Patrick?
Yeah, he has his own shop.
Brad has his own shop.
Yeah.
And he's posted something here that's absolutely beautiful.
There's 2 finished projects on here that are
Wow.
really
He says, I would like to share a picture of last chair a friend of mine, Mike, he mentions his last name, did before he passed. When he needed any woodwork or refinished work done, he would call me. And when I tried to upholster and got stuck, I would call him for advice. He would tell me, before you screw it up more, bring it over here. And he would walk me through it. What a nice guy. That's something, that's called a mentor. And I'm so sorry that he passed. But look at this. Look at the legacy this man has left behind in his mentee, Brad. And when you look at that chair, you guys, that is incredible. That is a channel tufted. Well, I'll tell you exactly what it is. It's a channeled, diamond tufted Victorian chair. Is that a mouthful or what? But to go a little bit further, look at how small the tufting, the spacing, how small it is. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows of buttoning in there, which is incredible. That little dainty work that you see is incredible. My only criticism is that you picked the busy fabric, or the client did, and you can't see the magnificent work that's in there. And I will say that when upholsterers were challenged in the beginning of upholstery, really goes way back a couple of 100 years, we had very bland fabrics. You had horsehair fabric, you had maybe linens back then, wool, very, very basic, limited colors. And so it was up to the upholsterer to enhance the fabric. And so that's where tufting and channeling and all these things came into being, and double piping and loose cushions and things like that came later. But that was what we did as upholsterers to enhance fabric. So there was a lot of skill in that. I mean, we as upholsterers, all you guys can take pride, all you guys on Facebook and everybody else, is that we fall under. Can you pan up on this up here, Michaela? Can you pan up on the board up here to see the needles? See the needles that are hanging up there? That's called, we come under the umbrella of needle arts. That's what they used to define us as, needle artists.
So don't get too close to that, though.
So I mean, there's a really long, proud tradition in upholstery that I guess that's one of the reasons why I like doing what I'm doing with the YouTube and everything. I hope that I'm honoring my business by showing you guys this. Sometimes some of the techniques have been lost. Even other upholsterers don't realize that, like the pneumatic gun, for instance. I mean, younger upholsterers have no idea. They don't even have tacks in that. They don't have 6 ounce, 33 ounce, 12 ounce, 14s. What are those? Who needs those? What's that about? They don't know the tradition of their trade. And I think everybody should start, and that's how I teach, with the traditional methods. That will make you a better upholsterer with the staple gun. Trust me. Because I'll tell you, the main reason is it slows you down. It just slows you down a little bit, and you have to think a little bit more about stretching fabric and placement fabric and things like that. So that's the method. So thank you, Brad. Were there other pictures there that people are seeing that I'm not, Patrick, on Brad's? You said
No, that's just the one he posted.
I just see one here.
Yeah, that's all I have.
Now, Daphne, wow. Talk about color. Do you got that up there, Patrick?
And this is the follow-up from last week.
This is incredible. I'm done, exclamation point. That's another Seinfeld, right, with the exclamation points, Patrick?
Yeah.
Wow, exclamation point. I'm teasing Daphne. Is she on, by the way?
Yes, she is. She has a lot of pictures.
Wow, exclamation point. Did, exclamation point. No, I'm just kidding. Only the exclamation points there are 3, right in the beginning and then one on the end. Like I'm an expert on grammar, right, Patrick? I'm the last person.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just kidding, Daphne. I know. I would have exclamation under every word or on every word. But she goes on, I'm done. Wow, did I learn a lot from this chair and from Kevin's excellent online classes. Yeah. There you go, Patrick.
Wow.
Can't wait to do the next one. Thank you.
That must make you feel good.
Of course. This is work. And, hey, I get satisfaction out of teaching and doing what I'm doing now. But it's these guys behind the camera, and Patrick and Michaela, who really probably deserve more credit than I do, because that takes a little bit more foresight. Is that the word I'm looking for? Or because really we're doing these for the future. I'm hoping that if I'm long gone, that Patrick and Michaela can use these videos and re-edit them or repackage them or whatever he has to do, and keep this going. I want this to keep going. I want people to really get the same satisfaction that Daphne. One thing I will tell you about Daphne is that she had great enthusiasm, which I think is really important. It's one of the most important elements to learning, I think. Almost anything, really, but in upholstery, people say people can get bored, or they say, how can you do upholstery? It's so boring sometimes. Well, some things are, and that's, people do get into it, they're excited, and then they get into a couple of years go by, and then if they really want to continue, it gets into like the beginning journeyman period, where there are long, boring periods, because really the amount of knowledge is small compared to the amount of skill. That's the problem. So you can learn, we had that book that I wrote that's 22 pages long. It's about springtime and everything else, right, Patrick?
Mm-hmm.
And the amount of knowledge is small. It's the skill building that's the big. Well, I guess it's true in any trade, really. But that's the part that people can get. They could fall away, or they get bored, or whatever. So you have to keep yourself engaged and excited, I guess. So that's what I'm saying. So why don't we have a question. This is what this is all about, you guys. Question and answer. Go ahead, Patrick.
CPRH asks, can you do a tutorial about how to fix chairs which have been chipped on the round back frame? Trying to hide it with piping, but want to do it correctly. Please help.
Yeah, I don't get too much into the wood. I learned a long time ago. I would take it to, if I were you, I'm not sure if he's a professional upholsterer or where he is on his journey. Hook up with somebody you could trust that does wood, that will be able to help you with those things, like Brad was saying. Brad was the guy, he was the wood guy. Brad was the wood guy helping an upholsterer, and then the upholsterer was helping him. So I'm sure that his mentor appreciated Brad's skill in helping there. So I learned a long time ago, and I'll never forget this. I was in a shop where we used to cut wood. We used to do headboards, and we used to cut any shape you wanted. It was kind of cool. It's kind of fun, actually. Headboards can be very satisfying. You could do those quick and feel like you've accomplished something. But I remember there was this beautiful black velvet we did a sofa or whatever it was, and the wood cutting was being done in this, not right on top of the piece, but in the same space. And these little particles of the wood got caught in the black velvet, and there was nothing we could do to get rid of them. There was nothing. We couldn't clean it. It was like little nanotechnology got in there, and it just meshed itself in there. So after that, I said, that's it. And then you got to be careful with if you do light. We could do light woodworking, the staining, things like that. I don't even do staining. I'll do touch-up, and you have to be really careful there too. You have a clean bench, you touch something up, you forget that you touched something up, you leave a little stain, you turn up a beautiful chair, and you got a stain in the chair. You got to be real careful if you're going to do that. So what I do is I have this board. I keep it clean. I reupholster it occasionally, and then when I do a staining, a small, not staining, but touch-up, I'll turn this over, and it has the wood on the bottom. No, right? And then I'll flip it back. That's what I do. But you have to be careful with your hands. You have to wash your hands thoroughly after you do that, because you're dealing with fabrics. So that's. I hope that answered his question. Any other questions, comments, Patrick, on that?
On that one, no.
Maybe people are excited to see me work for one. So let's do that.
So we're gonna do
the overhead. Let's do that first.
The submissions after that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do the overhead first, right?
You remember to follow those tape marks.
Are you overhead, Pat?
Yes.
Okay, I just want people to see my ugly hands. And by the way, if somebody wants to donate to my thumb, I would take
Surgery.
donations. My poor thumb, it's the first thing that's going to go on.
No, I'll put a blur over it or something.
Oh, yeah.
Well, now that you've said something, that's all they're going to focus on.
Patrick's gonna. What do they do when people don't want to be filmed? They put blurbs over there, like Google Street View does that, right?
Yeah.
They put, what is that called? A blur?
Blur, yeah.
So Patrick says he's going to blur my thumb out. How mean is that? Hey, Jimmy, are you listening to that? So we have a panel that, you can look at the curve on this thing, right? It's cardboard, which, thank God it's cardboard, because if it was wood, you wouldn't have these two prongs in it, that's for sure. And I'll explain that in a minute. But first thing I'm going to do is straighten out my prong a little bit. All right, and now I want to show you a couple of basic things, right, guys? And for all you who have been upholstering, you know how I'm a real stickler on labeling things. I don't care how stupid and simple it looks. Label things that come off a chair. What I mean by that is I have right top, okay? There are two panels, right? And they could be flipped, and it makes a difference. It makes a difference. So don't ever be guessing when you're at a point like where I am now about what the top is. Right top. I know what the top is, right? Now, can you see? Is that all right,
I
Patrick?
was taking some of clearing this away. It's distracting.
All right. Oh, he just spilt my water. Is that my vodka?
Are you fancy?
Is that vodka there, Patrick?
Yeah.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to also show you. Here's my fabric. I cut it about 3 inches bigger, right? And I have an X that marks the back, and top that tells me that's the top. So now you look at this fabric, there's 4 different directions. Obviously it's a rectangle, so it either goes this way, this way, this way, or this way. Who wants to be looking at it and trying to figure out, and then if you just got it cut as a rectangle, you have to take it over to the chair and try to figure it out, match it up to the chair. But I got to tell you, this is very, on chenilles especially, which this is, if this was a square, there'd be 8 different ways it could go on. If I just cut this as a square, right? I mean, there's some clue there, it's a rectangle. You know what I mean, you guys. Make sure you mark before it leaves the cutting table. Don't ever let it leave the table without flipping it back. Now, you're going to say, look, he put ink on that. Never put ink. I just did a small one. It'd be off the panel, but don't get in that habit. Chalk is the best thing. Chalk, the chalk that we have available on the online class, on the Upholstery on Broadway. It's not a school chalk. It's a special chalk that upholsterers use, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this over like this, because that's the back side. Well, I'm going to leave it like this. Sorry, that's the back side. That's the top. That's the top. And I'm just going to line it up like so. I'm going to this way. And I'm just going to just lightly put that on. Just let it fall. Let the fabric fall. Okay, now this is the tricky part. And for all of you who aren't used to your gun, I wouldn't probably suggest to do this, but you're going to have to get a staple in like that. And I just want to make sure that I don't pull this too tight. If I pull this too tight, it comes off the curve. So we don't want to do that. Now that's positioned where I want it there. So I'm going to get another staple here. Okay, and then I'm going to start getting some staples on this side. So if you guys aren't used to your gun, this is really close quarters. Michaela, can you plug that gun in? Can you plug the compressor in? Somebody? That didn't go in all the way, so I'm just going to staple that. See what I just did there, you guys? So don't tell too many people. As he says live. You can use you'd be surprised how often I use my gun for a hammer. Okay, so what it does is it saves you. Let me just get my hammer. I should be for the newbies showing the hammer. So you can tell that I'm a seasoned upholsterer because I'm trying to save as much time as possible. But you probably should use your hammer, your mallet, or your magnetic hammer to do what I just did there. But I wanted to make a point. So instead of so I have my gun and I'm stapling, right? And I'm not going to let my gun go. I'm going to hammer like that, and I'm going to continue stapling. Otherwise, I have to drop my gun, pick up the hammer, tap, tap, and then do that, and then pick up the gun again. So it saves time. Now, if you can imagine all day long doing these, you're going to save an hour or more by switching up. But I don't really want people who are newbies to do this. I mean, I think you should go slower. That's why I was talking. Even this, you might want to pin tack it. Make sure you got your 6-ounce tacks available and your magnetic hammer. And I would get it all set. If I were a beginner, I would get it all set with the 6-ounce tacks, like every inch. And then you can safely take your gun and staple in between, right? Enough said. As he takes his staple gun and shoots it with his finger behind, right? Okay, now I'm going to take this and I'm going to pull this over and get one staple there, and then get my staple, my scissors, and I'm going to cut right at that opening. It really is a cut that's almost, it's really close. And then staple there. And then I think I'm going to get another pulled and then a staple there. That one didn't take, so we'll get another one there. Notice though, you guys, I'm not stapling straight. Sometimes what I'm doing is I'm angling the staple in so that it doesn't skim out. And you'll check that to make sure you haven't done that. The last one I did a couple of times. A little cut there. Anybody asking comments or questions, Patrick, while I'm doing this?
Randy says any tool can be a hammer. Apparently Lucas has the same type hands as you.
Oh, yeah. Well, if he's doing upholstery, I mean, for all you ladies out there who worry about their nails, forget about it if you're going to be an upholsterer.
Because you can't wear, think about it, you can't wear gloves because you don't get the same touch.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah. And I remember when I damaged my nail, I hit it with a really hard. And did you know that there are roots in your fingernails? I didn't know that. And you can kill the root. That's what happens if you hit your fingernail hard enough. So what I'm going to do is come up to this is a little close here, so I'm going to get this stapled. I don't know why that's close. And then you start pleating, but look what I'm doing. I'm trying to get an even amount on both sides, stapling in the middle, and then stapling the pleat. So pleats are needed, but you don't want them on this side of the panel, right? Tricky. These are tricky, guys. These are really tricky to do. Okay, I think I'm going to trim this up now. I'm even going to trim this part. And then I'm going to look at this. That looks good. Okay, let's draw down here and get a couple of staples there. And then you could trim. You don't want too much cotton coming in the way of the stapling, so trim your cotton out if it's coming over like that, right? And look what I'm doing. I'm going right in between with the staple sideways and getting an even amount of pleat, right? And then I'm dispersing the pleat a little bit more when I go like this. And then I just got this spot to do. Now, the reference to the top, I'm always checking, right? I'm always orientating myself to the piece. That's my top. My nap's going the right way. I labeled my fabric the right way. And now I'm seeing if I can make some adjustments. I see that I can take this and maybe tighten it up that way and get a staple there. Let's see, I don't want to miss a spot. I'm going here, checking again to see, can I pull it a little bit more? And I can, so I'm going to do that. So then again, I tell my clients, I'm a good upholsterer. I've been doing this a long time, but I'm going to guarantee you that I'm going to have some wrinkling on a panel like this. Some fabrics do worse. This one's really great. It does a really good job. I'm also feeling now along the edge to see if I might have skimmed a little bit before I put my piping on. I don't think I did. I do see some stapling that came out a little bit. I'm using a 3-inch staple, 3/8-inch staple, 3-inch staple. 3/8-inch staple because I don't think the 1/4-inch would work, but some of them want to come out a little bit, but they're easily tapped back, but depends on the fabric too. So that looks pretty good. So again, I'm looking at my right top, and I'm going to start my piping. I'm going to start my piping right like that, and I'm going to hide it. I think the best transition here would be right in this area, so I'm picking that. Sometimes I used to come here and then try to piece over, but I don't like that as much. I like this. I started liking this, but before I do that, I'm going to take my stitching out. Any questions, Patrick?
Randy says, when I was taking an upholstery class, I could always tell who would not make it past 3 weeks. Either they had open-toed shoes or manicured nails.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, they make fake nails. Maybe we should look into that for the sake of our viewers. Maybe we should do that.
I think you have a Shark
I am not an animal. I am a
Tank
human.
idea there.
What?
A Shark Tank idea there. Upholstery nails.
Oh, they do have fake
Fingernails.
nails. I think Michaela could speak on
Just for
that.
upholstery.
Oh, just for upholstery. Yeah, they'll have me in there and laugh me out
add
of it.
tools onto them or something.
You could get a
Edward Scissorhands.
prosthetic fake nails.
I am not an animal. I am a human being. Right, Patrick? He doesn't know what I mean, you guys. You got to be a certain age to understand that movie, right? To know that movie. Do you know that movie, Patrick? No, never mind. Is Jimmy on?
I don't think so.
Uh-oh. Might have to put an all points bullets now. So the hard part about the piping, I'm blabbing too much and not talking about it, is you really have to, you can't work from behind the panel and put this on. You have to look what you're doing because you don't want to be out or in, which is worse like that. It really is a nuanced, it really is right there. The seam is like right along the edge of the panel. And so I'm very comfortable with this gun. I wouldn't advise anybody that isn't comfortable to do it the way I'm doing it. Again, I would advise you to do the pin tacking. But, you know, could be the reason why I got hurt that a few times too, you know, because, you know, you're working, you know, you got to get things done. Ow! As I said that, a staple came out at me. You know what, guys? I have really thick calluses.
That's funny. So Daphne just made a comment about that.
Don't worry about me. I mean, because my calluses, I could probably, I won't do it. I could shoot a staple really close and it won't go in.
Daphne has hers from the gym, and I have that from the gym as well.
What is it?
Calluses. Lifting weights, you get that from lifting weights.
Calluses are good.
I noticed mine went away after I stopped for a little bit, took a break, they went away. It healed up. Can you believe that?
Oh, there's another thing you can do. You can work.
Excuse me.
Well, you fell right into that one, my friend.
Well, typing doesn't really do that.
So the only thing now I'm going to do is just give this a little, I feel a couple of staples. I'm just going to hammer that down. And I see one more here that I don't like. So a lot of times what you can do is you can take your regulator and pop over. If the staple bends on this side, you just take your regulator and pop it through this way. And then you could do that. But there it is, you guys. So thanks for putting up with that. That's a new segment. If you guys like that type of thing, let us know. It's the overhead with small little projects like that. And we could do that on a live question and answer. If you guys really want to do that, we'll keep doing that. So what we're going to do is back away the camera. And we're going to get to Michaela's. This is the part that I think people are really liking, and I like it too. So let's just move right ahead. Let me get my phone. And I might have to get closer just because sometimes we show. Let's see. All right, so we're going to move down to which one?
Well, the first one I'm not sure if we can do. The first one is Jamie. Like, that's the first email.
Well, we can take a look at it. So do you want to read it?
Happy holidays, Kevin. We are loving our canvas reupholstered chair you finished for us last year, and we have another chair just like it that we also want to do with the same canvas, and wondering if you might be able to fit another chair job.
No. So we have made a decision not to do COMs, and this is hard for me to do this, but once you start making an exception too, it's a flood of COMs, and that canvas was difficult to work with in the first place. One of the reasons we made this decision is because we're seeing some really, it's not the fault of our clients, it's the fault of the industry. We're seeing some really poor quality fabrics. I saw a fabric on a couple of chairs that came to us that were reupholstering. They're high-end chairs, beautiful chairs. And I swear the count, I could tell just by looking at it that the double rub count was probably about a 500 or 1,000 at most. And manufacturers, this is what they do. They want you to come back not to reupholster. When you go back to say, hey, do you know an upholsterer? No, just throw them away. Those upholsterers, you don't want to deal with them. They're awful people. We had a, I won't tell you which billionaire that owned the stores around the New England area that used to make anti-upholstery commercials. They were terrible, weren't they, Patrick? I still didn't understand one. But anyhow, I'm going off track here. And of course, we have not enough money to do any retaliation at all, but not that we would, because we're not like that. But we could have some fun with this one, couldn't we, Patrick?
Okay, so I have.
So here's the thing. Here's another thing that's problem with that. I hate doing chairs separate from one another. I want to do them at the same time. So they would have to bring both chairs in, which is a hassle. But we're just not doing COMs anymore, and you could tell them that if they want to do both chairs with our fabric now, that we would like to do that. That's how we would do it if we're going to do it, right? That's a tough call though, because we might lose the customer. But when you go into restaurants, your favorite restaurants, a lot of them are closed. I could tell you from my experience that the restaurants that have remained open have a very limited menu because of the pandemic, because of short staff shortages, because of now we have these supply line shortages, which I've been told, by the way, all you upholsterers out there, I've been told today, Patrick, I haven't even told you this, that cambric is not going to be available for another month. Cambric is not available.
That's really random.
One month. Cambric. Black cambric. I don't know. Unavailable for a month. So we'll just use fabric. I mean, hopefully you guys have scrap fabric out there, or you have maybe decking fabric that you can use, or you have muslin, that you can use for the bottom of your chairs, white muslin. I never use the same fabric on a chair. I wouldn't do that. I would use a plain fabric of some sort that you might have as a replacement. It's expensive, but what else are we going to do? Why was I talking about that, Patrick? I got kind of lost the train of thought about that.
All right, ready for the
next one?
Yep.
Okay.
Next one is Robin.
So this is interesting because this person only wanted fabrics, right?
Yeah, I've already went through all of the contact with them on this one, but they recently asked something that I really am not even sure what.
Okay, what are they asking?
It is. They said, thanks for the update. On an unrelated note, I was wondering if your store has the ability to buy to the trade items, in quotes.
The answer to
was really interested in buying the ottoman below from Lee Joffa.
No, we don't do that. We're not designers. We're not doing full furnishings. We don't have the space or wherewithal, not wherewithal, but we don't want to do that. We don't want to get into that. Can you shut that off, Pat? So just for curiosity, does it say how many? I've been looking at how much you've been working with this customer on the fabric. So you think we're going to get this sale, or is this just inquiring?
Possibly, because called in samples to have them sent over to them this morning.
So just to let you guys know, because people who like this segment, everybody seems to like the segment, even people who aren't doing this for a business. But so far, there's been a lot of back and forth, and including this, a lot of time spent, including this, between both Michaela and I. But I'm asking Michaela, how many correspondence so far have you had? Does it say how many?
Let's see.
I mean, this is a lot.
Well, I've responded 5 times, but could have been 4. I just forgot to mention something that they asked in one of them. So I just sent that as a separate email.
But you're sending 12 samples here too, and calling the fabric company, and having to send those out. I know they drop ship, but still,
Yeah.
there's time and effort being put into this, and this customer could be just using us to pick our brains. So you're going to have
Well, they're looking for 35 yards
so
of just fabric.
do you think she's a customer?
I think it's a possibility.
So you could be spending like an hour or more with this already, between the two of us, or more. And so I think at one point you're going to have to maybe, consider consulting, because you at this point, Michaela, are a consultant with this particular customer. This seems more like a consulting issue, because I'm not even involved. We're not going to be upholstering. She just wants the fabric.
She just wants
So this
the
is
fabric.
very unusual for us, you guys, that somebody's just wanting fabric. So at some point, we may have to sit down and talk about what would a consultant fee, if this continues, like if she wants another barrage of fabrics, Michaela, we're going to
I
have
don't
to.
think she will, because
Okay.
there's only, because I sent her a link for, she wanted gray herringbone
Okay.
fabrics, and I sent a link for those, and she picked out ones she wanted from that list, and there's only that amount on the website, so.
All right. If so, hopefully it'll end at some point soon. But
Yeah,
I guess the
once
point,
she gets the fabrics, I'll probably hear back from her at that point, and
Okay.
then we'll know what's.
we'll see where she's going with this. If she starts to, wanting more, then I think at that point a discussion has to be made about a consulting fee. So you just can't let this go on too long. Okay, what's the next
All
one?
right, the next one, let's see, that one right underneath it.
Kitchen counter stools.
Let's see. So one of them, yeah, it's the kitchen counter stools. So
Which I don't have a picture of.
yes, I asked for pictures to be sent. So it's if you scroll all the way down to the bottom.
Okay, there they are.
She replies, says, "I've attached the photos for the stools and one picture of the cushion. I'm not the best measurer, but I did my best. Cushion measurements are 25 inches by 31 inches and 6 inches thick."
And what does she want on the cushion? The same fabric? Or?
She would like, let's see. She says, "Hi, I have a kitchen counter stools that need to be reupholstered. I was also wondering about the cost for 4 sofa cushions. I can send pictures and or swing by Tuesday." I'm assuming she wants the actual cushions, not the fabric.
The interior
Yeah.
cushion. So this is another thing. We could be going back and forth with, it's nobody's fault, it's not their fault, they don't know the terminology and everything else, and even designers have their own terminology, but you get to the point where you're designing things and everything else. If we got another job that I don't even want to get into, we may get into it if people want to hear it, but it's part of your job, but your job usually isn't to design things, but we do find ourselves as designers a lot of times, architectural designers sometimes. I mean, I can think of jobs that I've had where I had to be the main, what do they call it? I don't even know the name of it, I just do it. The main designer on a big job. I remember one time we did a local college, it was a big job. And they had a team, they had their own designers, and they had an architectural team, 2 teams. And they were coming up with these ideas for, what I do, which is cushions. I guess I'll tell you that it's a major college in New England that they had this, it was a beautiful atrium area, and they had these wonderful stadium seating that went up into the sky. And when I first saw it, I turned and I said, "Oh, this is DNA." And I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Whoever designed this, I mean, this was a scientific building, a brand new building. They designed it to look like DNA going up. I mean, I saw it, maybe they didn't, but I saw it. I mean, that was the design. Whoever initially designed it, I don't know if they were the same people I was dealing with at that point. They probably weren't, because the people build the building and they leave. And they say, well, and so they needed cushions that would come off that stadium seating. And it was a complicated job because every cushion was different. Every seat was different. It was different angles and different dimensions. So I had to actually become the lead designer because they really weren't getting anywhere with their designs. They wanted to make loose cushions. You can't make loose cushions because people are going to be stepping on them. There were actually no railings on this thing. It was a nightmare. So I had to come up with an idea that would be removable seats where they can clean this beautiful wood that it was unbelievable. So we came up with these wood platforms that had a little Velcro so that they wouldn't move when somebody stepped on them, because you don't want people tripping. So there was a lot to it. But did I get paid for that end of it? No. That wasn't initially my job. So that's why you have to be careful with these things. You don't want to get into you don't want to be that. We're upholsterers. That we don't have time for this, but whatever. The point is, we have to be careful of our time. So if she wants new cushions, you're going to have to ask her. You have to clarify with the cushions. Do you want new cushioning, and what type of cushioning do you want? There are two options.
Yeah.
The new foam and Dacron, you can tell her $150 a piece. If she wants spring and down cushions, which we recommend, they're $425 a piece, just for the interior. And you have to really kind of kind of emphasize that. It's just if you want anything different, let us know, and she'll probably come back and either say, she'll either say foam and Dacron or the spring and down, or she'll say, no, I want the whole cushion, or no, I just wanted the cover made. See what I mean, you guys?
Okay, so you said $120 each for the...
Go $150 each for new foam and Dacron.
Okay. Does that include labor?
Well, yeah, it's interesting. It doesn't. It includes stuffing them for them, yeah, measuring them for them and stuffing them. It doesn't include the cover, right?
Okay.
Good question.
And
a lot of
you
people
said
ask that.
$450?
$425 if she wants the spring and down. Each. Make sure you say each, because Michaela's smart enough. She's shaking her head. Yeah, of course she's going to, because she knows. But you'd be surprised how many times people say, "Is that total?" You know, they're asking for 4 cushions. You say $425, even if you say per, P-E-R. They'll still, they won't, or you could say each. People have responded back and saying, is that $425 for all 4? You know.
All right, what about the labor and costs for the stools?
The stools, they're not as easy as they look. They've got an upholstered seat and an upholstered back. We're not doing the faux leather, you can tell her that. But the labor on those will be $525 each. People are going, wow, $525, but you'd be surprised. Those little jobs with the half back, I'm going to show people. Those little jobs with the half back, like that, those are very high detailed pieces. And the problem is the outside back. They're out in the middle of the floor. You got to be really careful, and a master at the ply grip, not the edge roll, the ply grip. We have a question.
I just want to catch up a little bit here, because I had the comments up. I didn't know they were scrolling.
You had a lot.
Yeah, Daphne asked, how would you hold that if you're using a manual stapler? I'm finding it's hard to get leverage on that. And they were just mentioning that BEA stapler, Randy mentioned, which we do have on our thing. But how would you hold the manual one?
Daphne, I'd make sure that you have a solid piece to be working, and make sure that your piece is on a solid, like the horses that we have a little well in them. Make sure that what you're ever stapling on that one there, you need to make sure it doesn't move on you. You need a solid platform. If you have to turn something, turn it to make sure that you're working in a solid way. Because really, with the beauty of the pneumatic staple guns is that your hammer is what they call the hammer. It's a contained. The air is pushing. The air is doing that work. With what you're doing, you actually have to. There's one extra thing that you have to do with the handgun, and that's kind of like pushing it a little bit, pushing it in. You're just not simply pulling the trigger. And you must know this on that. You're on the pneumatic gun and a good gun like the BEA, and definitely I have a feeling you're going to graduate to that because you're really loving this. And we have that available, but I think the handgun is a good introduction and a good tool to have as a backup, by the way. Jimmy, the reason it sold me, I was never sold on the handguns until Jimmy was using one, and he preferred that over the pneumatic gun. Now remember though, Jimmy has his hand, I don't know what Daphne's hand strength is.
She does CrossFit, so it's probably pretty good.
Who, Jimmy's?
No, Daphne. She said
Daphne, then you should. The only problem she's having is things are moving, things aren't aren't solid behind what she's doing. She just saw me using the pneumatic gun, and I didn't have to do that. Although the staples didn't go in clean, you've noticed I had to hammer the staples in. The way I was doing that, I would advise you most people, I think I emphasize that, even on a pneumatic gun, to do that. I would make sure that you had a solid solid thing that you're hammering into, not holding something up and stapling like I was doing. I think that's only for somebody that's been doing it for quite some time. Is there any other comments, Patrick?
Randy says, I guess it's his supplier. He had cambric last week, so maybe it's just our supplier.
He's lucky he got it. Maybe you should check again and maybe order some more. Hey, Randy, keep ordering it, because it may be
we did that with webbing one time, remember?
We were smart.
It was a webbing.
Yeah, it was a webbing shortage. Who knows where these things come from? I don't know. Okay, you want to do is that it for that one?
Well, how many yards of fabric does the bar stools
Each
take?
one of those bar stools will take, you want to say 1.5 yards per. How many does she have?
I think 2.
Only 2? 3 yards total. Or go 1.5 if you're not sure about how many she has. See how smart you have to be, you guys. 1.5 each. And we say 1.5. People understand that more than 1.5. That sometimes the interpretation isn't right. So for our regular design, our regular people, our regular customers, I mean, they're coming to you expecting that you know all these answers. So it's a little bit more streamlined. I think some of the problems that come in is when, honestly, an architect or a designer, where they have their own ideas. I mean, we're working with the designer now that you kind of almost have to pull the information. You pull the information out. I mean, and it's just terminology and things like that you can get mixed up with. You have to be careful. 95% of any courtroom, they'll tell you, the judge will tell you, 95% of the cases that come before them are contractual cases where there was a misunderstanding because you weren't doing this right. I mean, this is a skill you guys have. That's why I think this is an important segment, and it's become popular, right, Michaela? Because you're trying to avoid getting yourself into some trouble. The last thing you want is to upholster something upside down, or the wrong fabric, or you put it on the wrong side, or you didn't get enough fabric. I mean, the list is endless. Go ahead, Michaela.
All right, next one will be Chris, which would be right underneath Mary Beth.
This is it. Why don't you read that? That's interesting.
All right, so he says, "Hi there. I've recently inherited an old chair and ottoman, and wanted to price out what it might cost to reupholster these in a nice light brown leather. Can you please let me know what you think it might cost? I'm just trying to determine if the cost to reupholster is worth it to me, or if I'm better off selling the pieces and buying a new leather chair down the road." I already responded to them and said, unfortunately, we no longer work or sell with leather because the quality of these materials has decreased drastically, and we don't feel comfortable doing the work that we know will fall apart sooner than later. We highly recommend redoing it in fabric, as it will last much longer. If you would still like an estimate, let us know. He did come back and reply that he would like an estimate in fabric, so that's what we're going to do now.
So you guys, look at that chair. So I'm excited about that chair. He'd be crazy to sell this, especially since it's a family heirloom. I'll leave it up to you what you want to say, Michaela. You can tell him that if you want. But I want you guys to look at the wings in particular on this chair. The wings are very thinly done, and that is a very old chair when you see that. Now, we have overstuffed chairs did it go off? Overstuffed chairs that have big wings. They're like the English wing chairs that can be old. But this chair is a very fine piece of furniture with the thin wing. It's old too. And the ottoman is, I think it matches. Obviously, a little off subject. If you look at the grate underneath the ottoman, you guys, that is a beautiful home that he lives in too. That's a handmade. I think it's brass. I think it looks like brass, you guys. It's all, metalled. It's got a beautiful design in it. It's beautiful. I mean, that and the scale on that is wonderful on that chair. That's hard to do in furniture. Ask any wood guy, he'll tell you hardest thing to make is a chair.
And some questions before we go to the next one.
Hold on, let's
We're
just
not done
answer
with
this.
one.
Oh, there you go.
So the wing chairs, you need, I want 8 yards on that one, and I want 2 yards. I want a total of 10 yards, especially if he wants that throw pillow. But I won't even mention the throw pillow, just say 10 yards of fabric. The wing chair's gonna be $11.50 labor, and the ottoman's going to be $3.75 labor. Got it?
Alright, $11.50 and.
$3.75.
ottoman, Yep.
And 10 yards total on that. And he would be crazy to get rid of that. He won't be able to sell it. I mean, I don't want to tell him that because that's a tricky thing too. You know, I'm going on about how beautiful the chair is. But, you know, reselling used furniture, as you guys know who are in the business, one of the big companies that do this for a living, an auction company, calls even this, they call that brown furniture because of the brown light. They categorize it as brown furniture, which is, I think it's insulting. I think it's terrible. But they don't put any value hardly on something like that. But as a family heirloom and to try to replace it, I mean, I tell people, if you try to replace that, if you're interested, if you care, that would be about a $10,000 wing chair to have it custom made like that. If you could find somebody to do it properly. That's a hard thing too. But they'd be insane. Look how thin the arms are. How beautiful. They got a roll arm with the welting up in the top, up around it. It's a beautiful chair. I can see the beauty in this chair. I hope he does too. You can say anything you want. Mikhail's really good at words, so she could say whatever she would like. Kind of edit what I said. She's really good at that, editing and getting to the point and not wasting a lot of time because he could be gone. We got another question, Patrick?
Let's catch up here. Yeah. Elaine says, how would you reupholster a chair back that used to have French cane work?
It's a tough one. I try to, when I do any type of, we have a couple of videos about this, right, Patrick?
Mm-hmm.
Conversions.
Converting caning into upholstery.
Converting. I always try to save as much, even if the caning is damaged. I always try to keep it. I try not to cut it. Some upholsterers like to cut it away. Sometimes you have to do that if it's in the way. But I try to go minimum. That's the answer. Minimum as you can. So if you have a back with caning, you want to secure it maybe with burlap. Forget about the webbing if it's dainty. But something has to go over the old caning, and then maybe a layer of cotton. That's it. And then even when you apply, you're going to have to staple into the wood. Try not to go too deep into the finished wood, but enough over the caning so that when you put your trim on, you hide the caning, the edge of the caning. But even when you put your fabric on, you can panel it. And you see this, I do this on these videos. And people say, what's he doing? It's a little different than what he's showing us how to stretch over something that's really heavy or with a lot of stuffing. When you have a little stuffing, you can actually make panels. You can actually fold the fabric. You can trim the fabric about 1 inch and fold it, pin tack it, but fold it under. It gives you a cleaner line. And so I guess that's what you do. And please post that if you're not a member. This name is unfamiliar to me, Patrick. Mm-hmm. Is she on now?
Yeah, she might be new.
She's
new. It was damaged.
I think she's new. Yeah, she may have to, go over that damage with. I hesitate to say the webbing because it's a back. You don't really need to go too heavy on the webbing or any webbing. That's why I say maybe burlap, cotton, a full layer of cotton, and then panel it like I show on that conversion one that we have on the YouTube. That's why the YouTube is wonderful, actually, to have the YouTube as we could talk about it and refer back to that, reference that our own YouTube videos, Patrick. Mm-hmm. It's a great thing. So reference that for anybody's interested, especially this viewer right now. Do you have
Randy says, have you heard of green stripe Jew webbing?
Never seen that. Wow, never seen that.
Interesting.
Oh, I meant to talk. Last year, LL Bean had, you guys, if you're interested, LL Bean had this webbing. They don't have it this year. They had it in a bow. It's bigger than this, but they had it in a bow like this. I think they glued it, and I think they were selling it. It's $20. Hey, if you want this bow, no, really.
That's insane.
I think there's some festive look to it, isn't there, Michaela?
Yeah,
Would you buy this? Would you buy this for $20?
I don't know. No, I'd have to see the actual bow.
Well, I tried looking that up. If you guys want to look it up, Google it. I Googled it this year. They don't have them. Maybe they weren't a big seller, but I think they're kind of nice. Nice festive for the upholsterer in your life, right? Anyhow, there goes that. What's the next? Any other questions, comments before we get to the next one?
She just follows. I'm worried about the outside back. She says, but yeah, that's just the follow up.
What was that?
Elaine followed up. I'm worried about the outside back.
Well, the other thing you have to worry about is hammer. I hope she's not hammering with the. You have to be really careful on fine furniture like that. That's not been upholstered and was never intended to be upholstered. That when you take your hammer and you do hammering, a lot of times you can break them. So you really have to use a pneumatic staple gun, I think, and do only light pin tacking on this. So I didn't say that. I'll bring her through it again. Burlap, a layer of cotton, panel it by folding it under, pin tacking it, and then making sure you love it, and then stapling it. Okay, Michaela?
All right, the next one is Shays Lounge reupholster underneath Janice.
I got Chris. Mary Beth. Did we do Mary Beth? We did Mary Beth. Oh, it's on like a string of other emails?
I don't think so. No, this is just, it says, the title is Shays Lounge Reupholster from December 3rd.
Okay, got it. Okay, do you want to read that?
All right. They don't leave a name, so I don't know if it's who it is, but they say, I'm looking to have the attached chaise lounge reupholstered in a more elevated fabric that's also wear and tear resistant if possible. The current fabric has water stains and is quite threadbare. I'd also like to remove the skirt.
Well, first of all, see, this is the problem that you can get into too. That's not a chaise. That's an oversized club chair or a chair and a half. That's not a chaise. Now, I don't know if you want to correct them or not. You may want to, because we don't want to be writing up an order. You know, you can see if I write up an order for a chaise lounge and this comes in, that can be confusing. So you're going to have to correct them. You're going to have to say, well, this is a chair and a half. I'll say a chair and a half, not a chaise. But you don't have to say not a chaise because you don't want to, right? I don't have to say this to Michaela because she's very tactful when she writes these. And, you know, that's really important, you guys. You know, I think you really have to treat people well, and you know, just because you've been in the business for 45 years doesn't mean that people know everything. You'd be surprised how people forget the things that they have learned and kind of almost come off as insulting. I know they don't do it on purpose, but you have to be careful how you treat people and talk to people, especially in the written word, right, Michaela?
Yeah.
These can get lost in translation and everything. I told you, I had a woman come in who I treated well, and she said that I'm going to give you the job because the last upholsterer I was in assumed that I didn't have any money, and they were using her appearance to judge her, and I never do that. I said, no, my mama taught me right. I know how to treat people, and we got a big job. It was a very nice job because we just treated people like you want to be treated. I mean, it's not a big secret, is it, Michaela? Anyhow, go ahead.
All right, so labor.
Labor on this chair and a half is $1,400. That's almost like a love seat. So, and the yardage, she said they don't want a skirt. Let's give them two estimates on the yardage.
They don't want a skirt.
So let's say if you don't want a skirt, it's 10 yards. If you want a skirt, it's 12 yards. Give them the option still, you know. So that way there we look smart. And I will show. They have a picture of one of the arms too. They're showing us where it's threadbare on the arm. And let me tell you something, I could tell by I could almost see the thread count on that. It's a manufacturer's chair, and here I am, I hate to keep bringing it up, and I'm not making fun of everybody in the manufacturing world, but that's a low thread count. That is probably a very low thread count, you could tell.
All right, the next one is right underneath that email.
And these are all current ones that we have to catch up on anyhow, right?
Yes.
So I like this idea that we're killing two birds with one stone.
This is the last one.
Which is this one?
Mata.
All right, so why don't you read that one?
Alright, I am interested in reupholstering and putting in new foam filling for this chaise. It is 56 inches long in total, 30 inches tall from the floor to the highest point. Cushion is 21 wide and 25 at the lower half, 45 long. Wooden legs are 7 inches tall.
So you guys, this is a fine piece of furniture, and there's a few pictures, so I'm going to go through them with you. So she starts off with it in the back. See how beautiful that is? And then the leg is a nice wood turn leg. That's beautiful. And look at the piping to finish it off. I love the fabric that's on. Look up the panel, hand paneled arm. This looks familiar. I think I did this. Loose cushion. She looks like she has down in it, but she's asking for foam, which she might have a reason.
Oh, she says foam / filling, so.
And then that's a down cushion. I'm going to insist she keeps it in. And then she has, I think there are buttons in there too in the stripe.
Yeah, it looks like.
And wow, what a beautiful piece of furniture. It really is. Very high end furniture. So let's give her a labor price of $16.50. And she needs 9 yards of fabric. And we need to see the cushion, we need to see the cushion to give you an estimate on that. Just leave it like that. Okay. Cushion could be extra, but we need to see it, because I have a feeling what I'm going to do, as I'm going to tell her if it's down, I want to tell her to keep it, right? And if she has a reason, she might be allergic to down, she wants the foam, then we can talk at that point.
What did you say for the yardage?
8. Is there another question, comment, Patrick?
I think we're good. We're getting to an hour and a half. Very busy day. I hope people are enjoying that.
Well, I think they must be.
We just gotta get you a nice microphone. You know? That's my only gripe with this. I feel like you'll have that nice microphone, like a podcast type setup. That'd be pretty cool. We have them. I never really. Audio's confusing to work with.
So I guess I want to mention something. I got a text with the job that I want to mention. So this job that I've been doing this school, and assuming that we did some work for them, and there was the job didn't get all the way done, and there's been no communication at all, and but I saved the fabric. I hid in the corner. This brings up other issues like of storage costs. A roll of fabric doesn't sound like a lot to store, but this has been ongoing like for months, and I've had to be careful not to use it for something. I got the name on it, I got it tucked in a corner. But let's say this was and we have pieces like this. I want to talk a little bit about this. This is important, Pat. We have a storage unit that we're paying money for, and we have pieces in there that have been in there. Just some are going on a year. You aware of this, Patrick?
Wow.
And this is a lot of money. Storage units in Boston area are expensive, even in the suburbs. And so, how does this happen? Well, the pandemic is a reason for a couple of them. People just dragging their feet, more or less. I have 2 sofas where just people, it's just like, they've given deposits too, but the deposits have pretty much exhausted out because of the storage fees. And I'm not sure how these people are going to feel if I tell them that your deposit is no longer valid, but there's nothing in writing. Patrick's always after me. I have a way of doing business where it's more of a handshake and make sure the contract is written well and we have a good rapport with somebody. I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could say, I've been paying a lot for storage. Maybe I probably won't do that, Patrick. But there is a reality to this. The reality is it costs money, and that's why I bring that up. I'd like to ask Randy if he's still on there. Do you have, I know I know that he doesn't have a storefront, I know that. So he might have to really be tough with people because he doesn't have much space. See, when you have a little bit more space, people want to kind of dump on, say, hey, can I bring it down now? I don't have the fabric, but I'll get the fabric later. Can I bring the piece down? Because they just want to get it away, That can get into being a problem. Right, Pat?
For sure.
So anyhow, that's boring. People are bored now. People are asleep.
Lucas said what I said.
What?
You need to charge people storage fees. That's what I said to you.
I know. Well,
But I mean, some other people have legitimate reasons for. Like one other person got sick or something like that. I don't know. The stuff that's in the unit.
yeah.
But
So I think this was a good show. We covered a lot. We showed a small upholstery job that was kind of tricky. I think we learned some things doing that. I think we talked about the subscribers. We've talked about the forum, which we have over 300, you said, Patrick, or 4?
yeah, just got to 300.
Just got to 300. So you guys keep it up. Keep up the comments. Even negative ones we'll take. Or if you have criticisms, that's fine too. Remember, I am not a professional actor. I only try to pretend like I'm one, right? Jimmy's
Yeah, you're doing a good job.
Jimmy is he has more experience in Hollywood than I do. For all those who don't know it, Jimmy was in an episode.
As in Hollywood, you mean Causeway Street, you know?
Causeway Street.
Or whatever it's called. Where was it filmed?
It was filmed in the MBTA. Jimmy was on he was in the opening.
What's Jersey Street?
Right, opening.
They changed the name. It used to be Yawkey Way, but they filmed that scene. I think it was on Jersey.
Is that
near
where it was?
Fenway,
I didn't know that.
Maybe I'm thinking of a different scene, but I think it was near Fenway Park.
It was the opening scene in the movie. What was the movie, Patrick?
Of the town.
The town.
No, the opening scene wasn't out near Fenway. That was somewhere else.
Right.
I still haven't watched it to see him in there.
I haven't either. I haven't seen it, but people tell me
We'll
they've
get the
seen
screenshot.
Yeah.
We'll post
He
it.
didn't even have to. He didn't even have to join the Screen Actors Guild. I don't think. Anyhow, thanks. I think we're going to close it out, Patrick. I think
Yeah.
it was a great session, and Janine, I know she watches later, doesn't she?
Hey, Randy said he just posted something. Maybe I'll get that next week.
What?
Get some photos up. Do you want to look at them real quick?
What are they?
He posted something to the forum.
Could you put them up quick before we
I'm
go?
not sure. Maybe he sent them to you. I don't see them here, Randy.
I don't know if he sent them in an email, maybe. But you'd have that, Michaela.
Actually, I do want to. There's one other thing I want to make sure. Yeah, actually, this was from Gabrielle. I didn't print this one out.
Okay.
That's a question. I didn't see it. I got hit in between here. She's posted on the second. I have an interior designer asking about 5 pieces to be upholstered.
Yeah.
Do you see this?
Yeah. Read
What
it,
do they expect? Special pricing? I know they can be difficult. I want to go in knowing something. I'm going in with it like a deer in headlights. Thank you in advance.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how she has set herself up as a business. Is she a retail business? Does she sell fabrics? Because right there is a conflict if she sells fabric with most designers. They want to sell the fabric and make money on the fabric, as well as consulting. So some designers will work with you if you just want to work the labor. Some will ask for discounts on that. I mean, there are clothes shops that just deal with designers. I've been in that end of the business, which one of the good things about that is you always have work. If you're retail like we are, you're always looking for work, and you're doing things like the social media, which costs a lot of money. Designers are very good at marketing themselves. A lot of them were in that business or in that business. So they get their own clients, and it's word of mouth, but their clients tend to be, doing a whole house, so they don't need as many clients, and they're good at identifying people who do good work for less money. So keep that in mind. That's all I'll say. So if you want to work in that capacity, though, you need to be prepared not to get as much as your retail customers, I think, and not to make money on fabric. So it's just labor and a little fraction off on your labor, maybe 25%. So keep that in mind. Unless you could build a good rapport with some designers that will accept your full on your labor, pick up and delivery, all that, they'll do for you. If you just want to sit in your shop and take work in and accept that, that you're not going to get as much, then some people can deal with that. So there's a lot of factors, though. So I hope that helped. Is that it, Pat?
Yeah, that's it.
All right. So I'm getting a little tired because I've been up since 4 o'clock this morning, and I haven't had all the coffee that I was probably entitled to as a result, so I'm fading fast. So long hours, but we love what we do, so we'll see you the next time. Thanks.
Thanks, guys. That's your longest one yet.